Soon after the split of the Beatles, Paul McCartney forged ahead to start up his band. Paul McCartney, one of the Beatles' key members and instrumentalists, was one of the people to defy all odds and remain in music, not minding the Beatles split. During the Wings' 10-year lifespan, the band has sure experienced different stages of growth and has left a legacy. Guess you didn't know that Wings underwent numerous personnel changes but has improved and has remained one of the best bands that will not be forgotten in a long time. A lot of present-day fans do not even have an idea about how the band started. Okay, so here's a brief history. Let's help take you down memory lane. Before we do so, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exclusive content on the Beatles. The man, Paul McCartney, popularly known as a member of the Beatles, and his band Wings were a British-American rock band formed in 1971 by the former Beatle. In the crew, his wife Linda McCartney was on keyboards, Denny Seiwell on the drums, and former Moody Blues was on the guitarist, Denny Laine. The name of the band seems so unconventional, but there is always a reason for almost everything. According to Paul McCartney, the band is said to have come to McCartney as he was praying in the hospital while Linda was giving birth to their second child together, Stella, on the 13th of September, 1971. Paul McCartney recalled in the film Wingspan that the birth of Stella was a bit of drama. There were complications at the birth and both Linda and the baby almost died. He was praying fervently and the image of Wings came to his mind. He decided to name his new band Wings. The Wings were noted for frequent personnel changes along with their commercial successes, going through 3 lead guitarists and 4 drummers. However, the core trio of the McCartneys and Laine remained intact all through the entire year the band existed. Just after Paul left the Beatles, he released a new album. From reports, the new album birthed the band's idea, because the band started following the McCartneys' 1971 album titled Ram. After lots of training, productions, and the like, the band dropped their first 2 albums. The albums include Wild Life, released in 1971, and Red a Rose, Speedway, in 1973. The latter featuring guitarist Henry McCullough were viewed as artistic disappointments beside Paul's work with the Beatles. After the release of the title track of the James Bond movie, Live and Let Die, McCullough and Seiwell resigned from the band. The McCartneys and Laine then released 1973's Band on the Run, a commercial and critical success that spawned 2 top 10 singles in Jet and the title track. Forgetting that album, the band recruited a new guitarist, Jimmy McCullough, and drummer, Jeff Britton, only for Britton to quit shortly afterward and be replaced by Joe English. McCartney auditioned several drummers and guitarists, selecting Seiwell and guitarist David Spinoza. When Spinoza became unavailable due to other session commitments, Hugh McCracken was enlisted to take his place. On the 24th of January, 1972, McCartney added to the Wings lineup guitarist Henry McCullough after he tried out for the band. The new lineup immediately mounted an impromptu tour of UK universities with the group driving around in a van, followed by a tour of small European venues. Although this was the first tour including an ex-Beatle after the Beatles broke up, Wings played no Beatles numbers during their tour to show that it was a new band in its own right. In February 1972, Wings released a single called Give Ireland Back to the Irish, a response to the events of Bloody Sunday. The song was banned by the BBC for its anti-unionist political stance. Despite its limited airplay, it reached number 16 in the UK as well as number 1 in both the Republic of Ireland and Spain. Wings released a children's song, Mary Had a Little Lamb, as its next single, which reached the top 10 in the UK. Although some critics interpreted it as a sarcastic reaction to the ban on Give Ireland Back to the Irish, it was a serious effort by McCartney to record a song for children. Wings followed it with December 1972's Hi Hi Hi, which was again banned by the BBC, this time for its alleged drug and sexual references. The B-side, See Moon, was played instead. The single peaked at number 5 in the UK. After a while, the band was renamed Paul McCartney and Wings for the 1973 album Red Rose Speedway, which yielded their first US number 1 hit song titled My Love. The album included 2 tracks left over from the Ram sessions and was originally intended as a 2-record set. After producer Glenn Johns had walked out on the project, but that did not cause them to continue on new projects. McCartney conceded to EMI's opinion that the new material was substandard and cut it down to a single disc. Among the unreleased songs from the 7-month sessions was the Linda composition Seaside Woman, which was finally issued in 1977, credited to Susie and the Red Stripes. Almost close to the end of the Red Rose Speedway sessions in October 1972, Wings recorded the theme song to the James Bond film Live and Let Die, which reunited McCartney with Beatles producer-arranger George Martin. Issued as a non-album single in mid-1973 and has remained a highlight of McCartney's post-Wings concert performances, often accompanied by pyrotechnics. The same year, McCartney and Wings filmed a TV special, The Critically Maligned James Paul McCartney, which featured footage of the group performing in outdoor settings in front of a studio audience. They, however, proceeded on going for a music tour. After a successful British musical tour in May to June 1973, Wings went into rehearsals for their next album. McCullough and Sywell abruptly left the band in August, toward the end of rehearsals. Both musicians were disenchanted with the group's musical direction and Linda's inclusion. McCullough also objected to McCartney's domineering attitude towards him as a guitar player, while Sywell had long felt aggravated at the lack of a formalized financial agreement and his status as a lowly paid sideman, not as the main group member. This, however, reduced the band to a trio. The McCartneys and Lane cut what turned out to be Wings' most successful album, Band on the Run, at EMI's primitive 8-track recording studio in Lagos, Nigeria. The album went number 1 in both the US and UK, and spawned 3 hit singles, which include the rockers Jet and Helen Wheels. It was originally included only on the US version of the album, and the title track is a suite of movements recalling side 2 of Abbey Road. It also included Let Me Roll It, which was seen as an affectionate impersonation of John Lennon's vocal style, and No Words, the first Wings song on which Lane received a co-writing credit beside the McCartneys. Band on the Run enjoyed a highly favorable response from music critics and restored McCartney's tarnished post-Beatles image. With the new lineup, Wings released 1975's Venus and Mars, which included the US #1 single Listen to What the Man Said, and undertook a highly successful world tour from 1975 to 1976. In the latter part of 1975, Wings embarked on the Wing Over the World tour, following a postponement to allow McCullough to recuperate from a hand fracture. Starting in Bristol, the tour took them to Australia in November, Europe in March 1976, the US and Europe again, before ending in a 4-night grand finale at London's Wembley Empire Pool. For this tour, added to Wings' stage act was a horn section consisting of Tony Dorsey, Howie Casey, Thaddeus Richard, and Steve Howard on saxes, brass, and percussion. However, in between sections of the tour, Wings recorded At the Speed of Sound, which was released at the end of March 1976, just before the US leg of the world tour. It was intended as more of a group effort. Wings At the Speed of Sound, produced in 1976, was issued midway through the tour and featured the hit singles Silly Love Songs and Let Them In, which were both sung by Paul. One of the Seattle concerts from the American leg of the 1975 to 1976 World Tour was filmed and later released as the concert feature rock show. The tour's American leg, which also included Madison Square Garden in New York City and Boston Garden in Massachusetts, spawned a triple live album, Wings Over America 1976, which became the 5th consecutive Wings album to reach #1 in the US. From this album came a single release of the live version of Maybe I'm Amazed, originally from the McCartney album. The single's flip side was Soily, a previously unreleased rocker that was often used as the closer for the concerts. In 1977, the band earned their only UK #1 single with Mull of Kintyre, which became one of the best-selling singles in history. Wings experienced another lineup shuffle, however, with both McCullough and English departing before the release of the group's 1978 album, London Town. The McCartneys and Lane again added new members, recruiting guitarist Lawrence Juber and drummer Steve Holley. The resulting album, Back to the Egg, was a relative flop, with its singles underperforming and the critical reception negative. During the supporting tour, Paul was arrested in Japan for cannabis possession, putting the band on hold. Despite a final US #1 with a live recorded version of Coming Up in 1980, after Lane departed from the band, Wings discontinued in 1981. That's all for today's video, guys. But before we end, what do you think about Paul's band? What do you think about his wife being his teammate and co-band leader? If by now you haven't, ensure you subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any new updates about the Beatles.